My name is Murunga Nerufule, and I'm not gonna waste time by just doing some introduction for myself. These are just my information right on the screen. If if you, I prefer that we gonna engage mostly on the last group that we had last semester. I was so excited, but not too excited. We didn't engage outside this platform. But if there is any thing more than here, which you think you might want to get more assistance with, obviously that goes without saying, which is regarding this model, you are more than welcome to hit me on a WhatsApp. But however, for the period that we're gonna have, we will be doing here, we're gonna be meeting here. So I'm currently finishing my doctoral studies and all those in my other world and genetics and bioinformatics. And yes, I can safely say I kind of like know what I'm doing, if you want to put it like that, if you want to say. So just like Mr. Maya had said, if you've got any question, if you've got anything that you want clarity on, you're more than welcome to interrupt me either by putting your question or raising your hand on the chat box. But feel free to just unmute yourself and raise any question or any concern or anything that you want to add to that in that regard. Do any of you have this? It's called tutorial letter. Do you have anything like this on you? Think one of the documents that you should have you also need to have like also a document which has some sort of assignment. Yes, I see thumbs up. Okay, so which means I'm not going to be reading something that you're unfamiliar with. And yeah, this is just an outline of the contents of your whole entire study in the semester. And there are like basic things that you need to know. And I'm glad that Mr. Maya touched on there, because most of the time, what I've noticed in other groups or previous groups, many people will say, Marunga, please stop wasting our time. What is going to be happening in the exam? And upon realizing that the exam will be multiple choice format, many people tend to ease down the acceleration gear and relax a bit. But I've always, and I keep saying this to many of the students, that a multiple choice question, it can be tricky, it can be good, and can be bad at the very same time. That if you are not thoroughly prepared, or if you are not adequately prepared, it might end up in a situation that is not good. So please pay attention. Be Do as thorough work as you can possibly can. Engage yourself, find yourself in groups, whatever that you can do. Familiarize yourself with the outline of the model. Engage as much as you can with your lecturer in any given opportunity that you're going to be given. If you can be able to join some group, whatever. I know that. Okay, I see on the chat somebody said, unfortunately, I don't have that document because my materials were not all when I arrived at the university. Can you elaborate on that? I'm not sure what it means, but think Ms. Shimei, if she can see this, they can be able to assist at the end of the session with how you can be able to get or access this on your online. This is one of the things that you should familiarize yourself. What is it that you can get on online? What is it that you can get on what do you call this? The dashboard, the thing that you guys get. You can access your material and all the notification. What do you guys call it? If there's anybody who is familiar. That's me asking you guys a question, by the way. At my previous university, we used to call it Moodle. Uh, I know somewhere else they call it dashboard, I think, where your lecturer will paste the assignment. Even to some extent, when you do practical work, you do the practicals from 2 p.m. in the afternoon all the way to 5 p.m. Then you go home and you do your practical report and submit online. We call it Moodle. What do you call it in your at Unisa? if anybody knows. No one knows.
Study material is available on the My Unisa.
Yes, my Unisa.
I'm going to try and paste. Is this the tutorial letter 101 that you are sharing, Mr. Nilufule?
Yes.
Okay, let me try and paste it in the chat box.
There we go. All right. So basically it has all the all the things that you currently need. So if you go through this, there will be all the rules and all the integrities and the basic principles, which you just please 30 minutes you should be done with this. It's not necessarily most of the things that are gonna be available on your exam, but it's kind of like a map, something that you should be familiar with, something that when you're going around, when you're talking with your friend, people will be saying, "Oh, I've got this," and you, if you have read this, you can be able to answer everything and be aware of where everything is and where how you might be able to find everything. This is my Unisa. Please familiarize with yourself with this, and also please, as early as is still today, find out how you are supposed to submit your assignment online. Find out if you're supposed to write in pen or you're just supposed to type. Find out if they ask you to draw something on the assignment, or they have asked you to tabulate something as early as now. I know some due dates might be further away from now, and you might think that it's still far away, but trust me, it's not. And find out how is it if you're going to be writing your exam online, how you are able to access the technological tools in which you can do. Find out if you are allowed to walk in and come to the lab and familiarize yourself with them, with the computer lab and anything like that, all the password, everything. So you need to get your admin and everything intact, so that whatever that we're going to be discussing here, whatever that we're going to be doing, all of this, it's just going to cover you so that you are prepared and you are ready to tackle any question that is going to come. And also there are like curriculum transformation information, your lectures details, everything, your materials in which the prescribed books that you need to find, electronic access which you can be able to find. And trust me, what I don't do, even in previous session, most of the materials that we're going to be discussing here, I found them online. While I do, however, share them at the end of the our last semester. I was kind enough to share them after every session, but I prefer to share them after I'm done or at the end of the session that we have. But you can believe me, I get them in most of them. 80% of the material that we're gonna be using here, I get them in the internet for free. But you just need to dig and all that. And I'm sure you guys, you will be able to have that. And those are all the things. I'm not going to go through this. It's something that this is also the outline of the study plan, in which they will try by all means to adhere to this plan and the contents which are here, so that in the next few weeks that we're going to be engaging, we'll complete this. So yeah, that's it. Any question? So chapter 1, we're going to start with chapter 1, where we're going to be talking about biology and its themes. And I just want to start something else here. I haven't used this in a while, so we're just going to start. I just want to test your basic understanding of biology terminology. And just going to ask you, anybody who can define what an ecosystem is? I was listening on the news today. Some politician was saying, in this platform, we're gonna be moving forward, and we need to materialize this ecosystem, a political ecosystem. So the word ecosystem is used in various platforms, not only in biological context only. Okay, there's somebody who say ecosystem is a complex network of living organisms and non-living components that interact and interdependently function within specific environment. Somebody also said is community of living organism. And guess what? Both of you are correct. Ecosystem are all living things in a particular area, together with abiotic, non-living parts of that in environment. Remember the word abiotic, where it kind of refer to non-living things, and there are biotic components which also indicate living things. So in an environment, what will you associate as abiotic components or factors? Not necessarily factors, but characters in an environment. Let's say you're going down on a river, you are in a river, you're in a stream, you are in a Unisa field excursion. There's Dr. someone who took you to a river to do a field experiment. What will you expect to find which is biotic, and what is it that you could expect to see which is biotic, and the other one which is abiotic? Yes, the answers are correct. Yes. Yeah. Then now we are now on the abiotic and biotic factors. What is it that you can think they are? Do you see such as water, air, and soil for as an examples, and others which interact with things like plants and animals? I'm glad I saw someone on the chat said as well biotic will be living things like plants and animals here. So things like rocks will be abiotic, and things like soil and sand will be that. So what do you think is a basic science? When saying somebody said we're talking about basic biology, what would you think as an explanation will be a basic science? Don't overthink. You just, especially if you're gonna be tackling multiple choice question, it needs somebody who is prepared, but who is willing to have an open mind in terms of tackling question. I don't know if I'm making sense, because if you overthink, you might actually think all the answers, all the options that you have are wrong, or you might actually think all the options are correct, and then you have a very good problem. Yes, abiotic are not alive, not association with living organism, biotic plants, animals, and all that. What is a basic science? Go ahead.
According to me, I think it's a fundamental, specific principles and concepts that underlying a particular field of study.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Yes.
Yeah. And the principle there is that it's a particular field of study. It's not skewed, or it's not specific to any kind of study. So here I just put it in my simple terminology, that science that seeks to expand knowledge, understanding, regardless of the short-term application of that knowledge. And what do you know about plagiarism? I'm sure you have heard of the word plagiarism.
I think plagiarism is the use of someone's work without quoting when you're writing assignments.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think that's it.
Yeah, good. Any other explanation? Or we are happy with that? I think you are perfect. That's somebody said on the chat box that plagiarism means using someone else's work, ideas, or words without giving proper credit and presenting them as your own. And somebody also said plagiarism is the act of passing off someone else's work, ideas, or words as your own without properly crediting the original source. You are very 100% correct. So using other people's work or idea without proper citation, creating a false impression that those are the author's original ideas. Even when you go further and further with your studies, for things like assignment, you can, unless if it's an essay assignment, you because the question stands on its own, we can say you can use reference somebody else's person for a certain answer. But when you're writing something like an article or a research, you need to indicate that this I've sourced this from this source. I've got this from this accreditation, and it's not necessarily me who have started with this. The other example, the reason why I'm saying you don't need to worry yourself. You guys are young. You listen to this. What do you call this? Mapiano music and all that. So they call, what do you call it, sampling. When you're gonna, if some artist sing, let's say Brenda Fass, yeah, we're gonna use, everybody knows Brenda Fass. I'm exposing my age now. Brenda Fassi, Weekend Special. Then there's a new artist now. They want to remix or sing some lines in that Brenda Fassi song. The Brenda Fassi people can come and say, you need to credit us. And when you credit us, in some instances, in some industry, it's not just like in science where you just credit and say, this has been written by Murunga. I'm rewriting it, I'm rewriting it, I'm re-emphasizing it like this. But we're going to speak a lot in the plagiarism, because even when you are citing, you don't need to cite somebody else's information as it is, because there's that somebody's information that you're citing has to infer an idea, or has to incise, or has to be speaking something of the motive or the idea or the conclusive idea that you want to say. So most of it, plagiarism, is using somebody else's information without putting a citation. And upon putting a citation, you have to give full description of the reference, who wrote that, when, what was the title of the article, in which page was it on, and all that. All right, this is the easy one. What is a population? What do you understand about population?
Good evening, sir, and everyone.
I say, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Population, to me, in my understanding, population, it is a group of organism in a particular area or environment.
He is right. Population is all individuals of a species living within a specific area, in simplicity. And what is an organism? It's a living thing that consists of one or more cells and is capable of carrying out a basic function of life. I just said individual living entity. Simple as that. And a scientific method, when we conclude with our first exercise. So a scientific method will be a method of research where, with defined steps that include observation, formulating of a hypothesis, testing and confirming or falsifying the hypothesis, and so forth and so forth. Any question up to so far with this? This was just an icebreaker so that we can just start off. Any question? Or anything that you want to add? All right, so we're going to start with the inquiring about life. So inquiring about life will be when an organism adaptation to its environment are the results of evolution. We know about evolution. Okay, we're going to talk a lot. And evolution is the process of change that has transformed life. So life did not just start as it is where we are right now. We have evolved. If you check at life as it were 800 or 100 years ago, it's not the same as it is now. So people and life in general, it's evolving after time and time. So for example, the color of the beach mouse has more to be well matched or adapted to its local environment. So most of the time when we talk about evolution, we have to talk the terms such as adaptation. You have to adapt. You have to adapt to suit. You have to have mechanism that will suit your environment, that will suit your how you are and how you're going to be able to survive. Because if you don't survive and you don't have mechanism to survive, you won't be able to produce your offsprings to the next generation. So this is the beach mouse. And if you can check here, the color of this little fella here resemble the color of the sand and also of the little trees here. So that what does this help with? Anything that could just come on top of your head? I know you know it. You know the answer. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I
Is in,
think it's adaptation
Yes.
and survival.
And survival, yes. Survival from.
And
a
prey.
survival environment.
I'm sorry, sir, I lost you there. Sorry.
Okay. Survival to the environment uh, uh, because the way is there, it is the environment that experiencing there.
Yes, also for survival against
Against
predators. So you're able to hide easily if your color resemble what the environment that you're in. So the things that could want to eat or predate or prey on this little fella. So this little fella, it's easier to hide for himself against the predators because he resembled the color. If this fella was black, he will be easily recognizable in the environment. So you have to adapt this as time is going on. And also even here in the inland bounds of the species, this species, it represents the color of the leaves and the ground there. So you can even stomp on this if you're not careful enough because you can hardly see this on the ground. So biology is the study of life. Biologists ask questions such as how does a single cell develop into an organism? Biology is a quest of an ongoing inquiry about the nature of life. Life defines a simple one sentence definition. Life is recognized by what living things do. So we're going to talk also about the level of organization where we've got order, energy processing, evolutionary adaptation, growth and development, response to the environment, regulation. How do you regulate your body? How do you manage to regulate yourself? We're going to be talking about homeostasis and all those internal things that you need to, as an individual, be able to moderate yourself and be able to survive. And obviously, when you're able to survive for your population from your group, in order for itself to be successful, you should be able to reproduce. You have to be able to produce offspring. When you produce offspring, then your characteristics are able to be passed on to the next generation. This is just a repetition of an example of an order, evolutionary adaptation, reproduction, response to the environment, growth and development, energy processing, and all that. So the concept, the study of life, reveal unifying themes. The biology is the subject of enormous scope. There are 5 unifying themes, which are organization, information, energy and matter, interaction, and of course, evolution. Organization, information, energy and matter, interaction, and evolution. There is no such, this thing is like a Bible. You know, on Sunday, when your pastor is saying, we're going to open in Genesis, and you're like, I know Genesis. Everybody, I've seen Genesis on TV. I've seen Genesis on when I was in primary school. So the reason why this is important is because there's going to be a one-word question on a multiple choice. And they say, this one is not part of the things that this one is not part of the things that are unifying things of biology. Then they will put organization, information, energy, and they will also put what can I say they can put? They will also put, let's say they will just put what can they put? They will put another information. They will just put let's say for argument's sake they put chicken. They say chicken. I'm just making an example. But since when you know the 5 unifying themes of biology are organization, information, energy, interaction, and evolution, you will be able to know, no man, I know the 5 parts which are unifying themes. This one, the chicken is not part of that. And then you will be able to say the answer is D, and then you're done. So there's no such thing which is a useless information in terms of these notes. Am I making sense? That's why I say I hardly don't like the multiple choice questions because you might think that They are, and there's no such thing called luck. Trust me, you just have to be knowing your stuff and knowing everything that you have to be doing. And also there are the new properties emerge at successive levels of biological organization. Life can be studied at different levels, from molecules to the entire living planet. This enormous range can be divided into different levels of biological organization. And this biological level of organization is the biosphere, ecosystem, communities, population, organism, and organs, tissues, cells, molecules, and organelles. And so this, I've seen in the previous question papers when we were doing this, it requires a lot, where they're also going to put a multiple choice question. They will say rearrange which one is in an proper order or arrange properly. So you need to know that you start from biosphere, ecosystem, communities, population. This is a hierarchy. This is what we call hierarchy. Population, organisms, organs, tissue, cells, organelles, and molecules. So if anything is not in this, so and other thing, it does not necessarily need to start from biosphere. It can start from molecules. And arrangement, it has to be chronological. It's either going to be ascending or descending. So if they start with molecules, organelles, cells, then organs, you know that is wrong. So how will you know that? If you have studied, if you are aware of this. So you don't need to just saying, I will put this. Oh, I see you have already answered me, some of you on the chat box. Yes, it protects them from predators. Yeah. Then again, this is the biosphere ecosystem. And so ecosystem, community. What can you do? What can you differentiate between community and population? Or let's say the differences between ecosystem, communities, and population.
Sir, in a population, there is one specific type of species. And then in a community, there are different types of species that coexist with each other. And then in an ecosystem, it's different types of communities in one habitat.
Perfect. Anybody else who want to give it a different flavor or different synopsis, if you want to put it like that? Or she speak on behalf of everybody? But she is 100% correct. So community, population, you can see it's one particular group of individuals which are in one particular area in specific environment. But usually, if you don't want to confuse yourself, just say in a same geographic area at the same particular time. And these individuals are able to interbreed or to reproduce among themselves. And then they could be able to pass on their generation. But a community consists of all the different populations of various species. It doesn't have to be one species. It can be a species of animal. It can be species of grass. It can be species of a plant. It can be species of a shrub. It can be a species of a particular different species, insects, all of these kind of things. So people here can come and tell you that there are millions, actually thousands. Okay, millions, I'm exaggerating. Thousands and thousands of species that are here. And you'll be like, how? Because I can only see this little few guys here. These are just two mammals, but the plant species, different species of plants, different species of ants, which are on the other ground, other insects which are on the ground, other crawling things which are also there. So it's different population of various species that live in and interact. They interact. The key word on the communities is that they interact with each other. And also when you are describing community, have something about abiotic and biotic factors. That's where you will be able to describe it. And also for ecosystem, which is many people confuses and think that ecosystem and community are more or less the same, but they're not the same. But it encompasses both biotic and living things in one given area, and such as climate, soil, and all this. And ecosystem, the difference is the size is much bigger and has all the communities across it in that particular area. And as we continue this cell, these are organelles, and as you proceed in your studies, I'm not sure if you're going to be doing some practicals. Sometimes you go to the lab where you're going to have to examine the cells using a microscope and be able to do the labelings and all that, and see the microliters and the size of that particular organelle and cell. We're still going to talk about the chloroplast, the function of the chloroplast, and all these kind of things where you need to be familiarize yourself with and know what those are. Then there's also emergent properties. Emergent properties result from arrangement and interaction paths within an ecosystem, within a system. Emergent properties characterize non-biological entities as well. For example, a functioning bicycle emerges only when all the necessary parts of connect in the correct way. This is just a emergence property, and all the things that in terms of energy and how the reductant of these properties emerges. There's also a approach which studies the isolated components of the living system in this reductionist, and to explore emergent properties biologists complement reduction with system biology and analyze the interaction among the parts of biological systems. System biology can also be used to study all level of life, and also the structure and functioning. At each level of biological hierarchy, we find a correlation between structure and functioning. What is this function for? How is this structure relates to its function? And also biologists analyze the structure, which gives clues about what it does and how it functions. And more so, knowing the function of something provide insight into its structure and organization as to how you're going to be able to move yourself in that regard. Then also the cells as an organism's basic unit structure and function. That's a definition right there. The cell is the smallest unit of organization that can perform all activities required for life. So you need to, this is what you call a characteristics of something. When we're talking, or when you're approaching a subject or something that we're going to be talking about, you need to see the function, how they describe that function, how they characterize that property or whatever that we're going to be talking about. And also, every cell is enclosed by membrane that regulates passage of materials between the cells and environment. So membrane, this is the function. It encloses the cell that regulates the passage of materials between the cell and its environment. And the cell of bacteria and archaea are prokaryotic, while other forms of life are composed of eukaryotic cells. And in that order, you are able to know. So we start most of the thing in this model. Even in previous session, we're going to be talking about eukaryotic cell, prokaryotic cell. So this is what you need to know with the back at the back of your head. What is eukaryotic cell? What is prokaryotic cell? Even now, when you go, if you just go on Google, you'll go and say, what is prokaryotic cell? What is eukaryotic cell? It will come. Then you will have a table. You will form a table to describe the differences between prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. You need to do that. When you do that, that is the engine, that is the belly of this model, the eukaryotic cell and prokaryotic cell. That is the belly of this model. You'll be able to describe and tackle most of the questions that you're going to be faced with. And eukaryotic cell has membrane enclosed organelle, the largest which is usually nucleus. By comparison, a prokaryotic cell is much simpler and usually smaller and does not contain a nucleus and other enclosed membrane. So these are like the general description differences between prokaryotes and eukaryotic cell. But there are, however, many other differences which can amount to 10. Back then, when they could still say tabulate differences between eukaryotic cell and prokaryotic cell, you can, if your examiner is in good mood, they could even extract a question which is 10 marks or 15 marks, sometimes even 20 marks, by just highlighting differences between prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. Why? Because this is the basic, or this is the belly of what this module characterize and do. So this will be the differences between eukaryotic cell and prokaryotic cell. By the way, when they said it's going to be multiple choice question, they don't mean that there's not going to be diagram in your exam. There might be a diagram and they will say label. Oh, you guys know about these things in your computers. Come on. They could say label. They will say A, B, C, D, E, F to this one, G, H, I, up until 10. They say label. You agree you're typing? Multiple choice, you're typing. And then they say label. What is this? And then you're going to have to say it's a membrane, cytoplasm. Or not. They could do your multiple choice question. They said this is part of eukaryotic cell. And then which one is this? They describe differences and put something which is not there. There's endoplasmic reticulum. They bring something, an organelle which is not here, which is not supposed to be here. They omit DNA. They omit membrane enclosed. And you need to know that this is the structure. What am I trying to say? I'm not saying the fact that exam will be multiple choice does not exempt you from knowing the structures, from differentiating between structural and differences between prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cells. So when you get access to this, go through this, know what a prokaryotic cell is. What is the difference structurally in terms of diagram? Which one is much bigger? Larger one is the eukaryotic cell. By comparison, is a prokaryotic cell, and you can already see. And what is present in prokaryotic cell but absent in eukaryotic cell? What is present in eukaryotic cell but absent in prokaryotic cell? Which one is absent, is present in both of them? And then you have to tell us in that regard. This is the structure of eukaryotic cell. This one is the membrane, the cytoplasm, the membrane enclosed organelle, the DNA, which is the nucleus, and the nuclear membrane. And also, it does not end up there. You're going to be studying. It doesn't end there. You need to know the functions. What does what do? What is the function of this organelle? What does it help to do in that regard? In all that. And also the theme that the life process involves the expression and transformation of genetic information within the structures called chromosome containing genetic material in the form of DNA. And all that, I'm not going to focus on that. This is just a size of. So DNA is the genetic materials. Each chromosome contains one long DNA molecule with hundreds or thousands of genes. Genes are the units of inheritance. They encode, we're talking about coding, they encode information for building the molecule synthesized within a cell. The genetic information encoded by the DNA directs the development of an organism. And this is just an illustration where there's a DNA which is contained, this by a sperm cell, and then it's come and fused with an egg cell, and then there's a fertilization of egg with DNA from both parents, and then there's embryo cells with copies of inheritance DNA, and this offspring traits inherited from both parents. This is a process which you can also called also diploid. And also the other one is haploid. That's a question which is on top of my head. What is the difference between haploid and diploid in terms of reproduction? In terms of reproduction. So mostly in simplicity, when they talk about diploid, it mostly means that it takes two organisms. Okay, let's put it in simplicity. It takes two parents to produce a baby, the mother and the father. Am I making sense? But for haploid, will be an organism. Okay, just a hand. There we go. Go ahead. Is it a question or you want to assist? Did I not see correctly?
No, Mr. Sorry, I was just trying to react when showing that I heard you clearly, but I mistakenly put the raise.
Not a problem. You're welcome to say amen if you're attached like that. All right. So the haploid will be organisms which can also produce on their own. That would be like your certain insects where you can have, and some plants also. But we're still gonna talk about that. We're still gonna describe all those in future. There's the little fella. I'm sure ladies will say this is so cute. But when you start crying, you'll be like, nah, it's not cute. Then the molecular structure of DNA accounts for its ability to store information, the information about yourself, the information about certain species, the information about all of that. And each DNA molecule, we know these things. Come on, I'm just regurgitating what we did and what we already know. Each DNA molecule is made up of two long chains arranged in a double helix. Each chain is made up of four kinds of chemical building blocks called the nucleotide, and they're abbreviated A, G, C, and T. And that's my question. If we're doing, I'm not lying to you guys. If we're face to face, if we're in a lab, I would have come with chocolate and said, whoever was gonna say what does A, G, C, and T stand for, they were gonna be getting their chocolate. But I'm sorry, we are online. We ain't going to get chocolate, but can anybody tell me what the A, G, C, and T stand for? I'm sure somebody said
Yes.
I remember A, adenine.
All right.
And guanine,
Mhm.
cytosine, and thymine, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you. And do you still remember which one pairs with which one?
C is cytosine and T is thymine.
Mm-hmm. Do you still remember which one pairs with? They pair with when they're arranged there. When they're arranging. Okay, we don't have to go to SNPs anyway.
I think so. A pair with T, G pair with C.
G pair with C. Congratulations. So if you will find that there will be also ones that they're not gonna pair with a certain maybe T pairs with T. So mostly it will be considered as a mutation or something which is wrong. And this one here will be a DNA double helix strand and a single strand of a nucleotide, and this will be a cell and DNA link. Then for many genes, the sequence provides the blueprint for making a protein. A protein encoding genes control protein production indirectly. DNA is transcribed into RNA, which is then translated into a protein. Gene expression, and what is a gene expression is the process of converting information from gene to cellular product. Then this will be just a description, diagram which lines tightly packed with a transparent protein called the crystalline, and also this is the arrangement of DNA, transcription, messenger RNA, chains of amino acids. You don't need to worry more about this. This is what we're talking about. That A pairs with T, C pairs with G, and so forth and so forth. This is what we've been talking about. We just passed that and we just describe that one. So genomics is, when we talk about genomics, it's talking about large scale analysis of DNA sequences and organism genome. It's an entire library of genetic instruction. Genomics is the study of sets of gene in one or more species. And the proteomics is the study of whole sets of proteins and their properties. And the entire sets of protein expressed by a given cell, tissue, or organ is called proteome. And the genomics approach depends on high throughput technology, which yield enormous amount of data. That's what I'm doing, by the way, in my project, which is bioinformatics, which is the use of computational tools to produce large sets of data. That just means that you can be able to get large sets of data about the information of a species. You can be able to trace how long, how many of the phylogeny or the family tree in simplicity of that particular species. It can be a cow, it can be a goat, it can be a pig, it can be whatever species, it can even be insects, it can be even be plant species, bambara, whatever that you may be working on. And you can have the particular set of data and you can be able to analyze and revert back to millions and millions years back for where the species have that particular data and be able to analyze and arrive at a given conclusion about that, whatever that you wanna do. The life requires the transfer and transformation of energy in matter, the input of energy from the sun, and the transformation of energy from one another to make life possible. The chemical energy that are generated by plants and other photosynthetic organisms, which are producers, is passed along to consumers. What are consumers? Consumers are organisms that feed on other organisms and their remains. And then we have this diagram here. So this is the energy flow. You can see here that it comes from the light energy, comes from the sun, then the plants. This is the energy flow, the chemical cycling, and the plants convert the sunlight to chemical energy, and the organism. What is this little fella here?
So isn't it a caterpillar?
I was bad at drawing, but I just want it to be something else. Maybe I'm biased. Somebody may say it's a caterpillar.
It looks like a millipede.
Is it like a what? Sorry, I didn't get
A
that.
millipede.
Millipede.
Or
Okay.
it looks a millipede or a centipede. Centipede, I think.
Any of you ever has any of you ever seen a mopane worm?
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes.
Does anybody eat the worm, mopane worm?
I South Africa.
Uh-huh.
We do, and the economy is bad.
I used to
I
eat
wanted to
it.
say it, but I didn't want to sound ghetto.
Okay. We're gonna talk a lot about that. All right, then. The organism use chemical energy to do work, and the chemical pass organism, that is the plant, and then heat is lost from the ecosystem, and the decomposers return to chemical to the soil. So when organisms use energy to perform work, some energy is lost to the surrounding as heat. As a result, energy flow through an ecosystem, usually entering as light and exiting as heat. And chemical cycle within an ecosystem where they are used is therefore recycle. I'm going to be very fast because I want us to maybe go to the quiz if we can at the near end of the session. The interaction between the components of the ecosystem of the system ensure smooth integration of all parts. This all true equally well for components of ecosystem and the molecules in a cell, and then molecules interaction with organism, interaction between components, organs, tissue, cells, and molecules that make up a living organism are crucial to their smooth operation. Many biological processes can self-regulate through a mechanism called feedback. This is supposed to be highlighted, but when you get this, and I'm sure in your notes, highlight this and pay attention to this, because I think I've seen it elsewhere. I don't know, but I've seen somewhere else when it's regurgitating. So in feedback regulation, the output or the product of a process regulate that very particular process. And the most common form of regulating in living organism is negative feedback, in which the response reduces the initial stimulus. What does a negative feedback does? It the response of the negative feedback reduces the initial stimulus. A less common form of regulation is positive feedback, in which the end product speeds up its own production. So the difference between negative and positive feedback is that the negative feedback, it reduces the initial stimulus, but the positive one, the end product speeds up its own production. So this is just a description of what is happening on the negative feedback, insulin and all that. This is just an example. You don't need to worry mostly about it, and the negative feedback and the positive feedback in that regard of the animation. When we talk about ecosystem, remember we talk about ecosystem in the first part. It's 7 o'clock. People are not supposed to be making noise. People are supposed to be indoor, inside. There are people who are making noise outside my. Okay, let me focus here. An organism interaction with other organism and the physical environment. At the ecosystem level, each organism interact with other organism. We're talking about ecosystem now. This interaction may be beneficial or harmful. Organisms also interact continuously with the physical factors in their environment. Remember the lady who answered us about the differences between population, ecology, not ecology, population, community, and ecosystem. She gave a proper description of what it is. And she mentioned also something about the physical factors in the environment, and the environment is affected by the organisms living there. But I want us to focus on this statement number 2. This interaction may be beneficial or harmful to one or both organisms. What do you think they're talking about here? There's a description of what they're talking about.
I think that the interactions may be beneficial if there's an equal number of producers as well as consumers, because if there are more consumers, then there won't be enough food for the other species that live there. So then there have to be like a symbiotic relationship between them, so that as much as they produce, they can also consume.
That's the word that I'm looking for. Symbiotic relationship. That. You talk a lot of good stuff, good English, yes, there, but I was looking for the symbiotic. They're talking about, and what is the other one? These are the interaction. Interaction. What is an interaction? It's a relationship. You know, when you said me and Jabu, me and Sipo are in a relationship. Me and Tom, me and Ben are in a relationship, in an interaction, and you can say my relationship with Tao is symbiotic. Remember when we talk about symbiotic? And then what is the other one? You know this, come on. That's what you're thinking about is the correct one. Come on, come. There is commensalism. There is also there's also mutualism. Yes, there's parasitism. Yeah. Do you still remember what are the description of those? the lady was perfectly correct. Then they're talking about the description of symbiotic relationship where there's parasitism, commensalism, and mutualism, where both organism benefits, and this is the other one where the other is harmed and the other is not affected by anything. The other one benefits and the other does not get harm. And there's another one where others will be benefit and all that. So this is also a description where it's a sunlight, which the leaves absorb the light energy from the sun, and also the animal eats the leaves and the fruits from the tree, returning nutrients and minerals to the soil in their waste product. Water and mineral in the soil are taken up by the tree through its roots, and also leaf fall through the ground, and they are decomposed by organisms in that regard and return as soil. And there is a difference between browsers and grazers in terms of feeding. When we say an animal is a browser and animal is a grazer in terms of feeding, what are we talking about? Anybody?
I think a grazer are the animals that eat from the ground, and the browser are the animals that eat from the long trees.
Just repeat that. I lost you there. Said the browsers are what?
I think the browsers are the animals that eat from the long trees, from up the trees, and the grazers they eat from down the ground, from the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I think even if you can just say the what did I say? The grazers. Yeah, the grazers,
Yes.
they feed on they feed on grasses, and the browsers they can just feed on the leaves and all those the branches and all that. Yeah. And it does not necessarily need to be a long tree or anything, but it just need to feed from this. And I think this little fella here, it's a browser. No, not a browser. Yes, a browser. Because a
Yes.
grazer is the one that feeds on grasses. Thank you for that, sir. That's perfect. And each organism interacts continuously with physical factors in its environment. We talked about that humans also interact with our environment, sometimes with dire consequences. Over the past 150 years, humans have greatly increased the burning of fossil fuels and the release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And the resulting of such global warming is just one aspect of climate change, which is the biggest a problem, which the major problem in science that we're trying to solve. If you come across a question and everybody just start to say, what is the biggest problem in the world today? It's climate change. It's global warming. We are trying to solve that problem. It all comes to that in one shape or the other. It's about that. To a point whenever you're gonna be furthering your studies, you guys, when you want to secure a funding, you want people to fund you on the project, they say, okay, what you're working on? Yeah, I'm working with this and this and this and this. All right. When you do your presentation, this has to be there. How are you gonna help in the climate change thing? They have to do. If we look at the load shedding, the problem that we have, if you dig deep down, they will tell you that the issue is we are trying to reduce climate change. That's why we have to go green. That's why we have to do this. If you check on the reason why most of the department will say, no, don't bring your CV. Just send us an email that's saying we are trying to save trees, because the more papers, the less trees out there, they are being killed. And the less trees are there, the structure of the vegetation is going to be shaped in a different way. And the more the shape of the structure of the vegetation in that particular area, the more there's an erosion, the more there's rain structure, the more you will find that you have more hot summers, and when it rains, you find that it's raining in extreme. Our temperatures are extreme. When we say the temperatures are extreme, when it's cold, in Pretoria it doesn't get that cold, but yes, but when it gets hot, where we come from in Limpopo, yeah, it does get hot. And in Gauteng, in Joburg, when it rains, it rains like nobody's business. Why? Because of the imbalance of temperatures. They now become extreme. Wind and precipitation patterns are also shifting. I just said that. Extreme weather events such as storms and droughts are occurring more often. As the habitat deteriorate, plant and animal species they shift to more suitable location. Population of many species are shrinking in size or even disappearing. What is the word that describes this? As habitats deteriorate, plant and animal species shift their ranges. It might not necessarily be this, but what could they be talking about if you can describe this in one word?
Evolution.
Sorry?
Evolution.
Can be evolution. And anybody else? They shift ranges to more suitable location. Anybody else?
Migration.
Perfect. Migration. They migrate. Even people, when things are deteriorating in where we are, you migrate. You migrate to Gauteng because you are from. I'm making an example. You are from Pinar in Mpumalanga. You are from Tekwane North or Tekwane South in Mpumalanga. You are from you are from Newcastle in KZN, but because there is no employment, because there is no university that you want to be at, you migrate to your Gauteng, you migrate to your Pretoria, you migrate to your Cape Town, to more suitable location and habitats. When your uncle, your rich uncle, when they said, I'm going to put a mall in this vegetation, there's a bush here, you need to tell your uncle and say, but uncle, do you know that there are plant species there, which when you destroy that habitat and put your garage and put your mall there, there are plant and animal species that are no longer going to have a habitat because of your mall. They will tell you, are we going to eat your plant and animal species here because we are creating jobs and all that? But it's a big thing. It's a big thing. It may sound funny, but it's a big thing. There are big projects which are billions and billions. In terms of law, you guys, you need to know this. You are not just allowed to say, I'm just going to go and build something there. The first has to bring experts. Who are these experts? It's you guys. You guys are going to go and observe that area and say what kind of plant species are there, what kind of animal species are there, and then you're going to say, okay, these species can occur also in different places. But if this plant species occur only in that one particular area, and it's facing, okay, before I said this statement, let me jump to this statement. Population of many species are shrinking in size and even disappearing. What is this terminology for that?
Extinction.
Extinction. Perfect. You guys are good. And then we're gonna say what? We're gonna say, there are species here. If you remove the species from this location to build your mall, these species which are there, they face extinction. So if we remove that plant species there, we might actually no longer have that plant species at all in our country, in our continent, and all that. And then the project can be halted. The project can be stopped until we have to find more equitable ways to remediate and to compensate or to come with solution about what could happen. And also this is this little fella here, which is changing color in order to survive or in order to embrace itself. The core theme of evolution accounts for unity and diversity of life. Evolution, we talked about evolution. Evolution is one idea that makes logical sense of everything we know about living organism. And before we talk about evolution, please don't report me to your pastors and anything. This is just for a study. I know there are people who are religious who are like, nah, We come from Jesus. We come from God. We don't from where. But this is just a scientific point of view. The scientific explanation for both unity and diversity of organism is evolution. The concept that living organisms are modified descendants of common ancestors. An abundance of evidence support the occurrence of evolution. Nothing in biology makes sense except in light of evolution. It's from this guy here who I cannot pronounce. Anybody want to read this name?
I think it's Theodosius Zopshansky.
Lubzansky. All right. Okay. Thank you for that. Classifying the diversity of life. So approximately 1.8 million species have been identified and named to date. And each species is given. This is very important. This is very important. You should know about this. And this is an easiest marks that you need to get. And so yeah, pay attention. Each species is given a two-part name. The genus to which the species belongs to. So the genus will be like your surname. And the species name, which is unique to that species. So we are Homo sapiens. The name of our species. So which in Homo sapiens, which one is a genus and which one is a species? My phone battery is low. Which one is a species in Homo and which one is a genus?
Homo is a genus and sapiens is a species.
Good. Which other, out of curiosity, which other scientific name do you know? It can be of a plant or a species or an insect or anything.
Homo neanderthalis.
Oh, what is that? What is the common name for that?
I think it was Lucy, the one she was found, or Littlefoot.
Okay. Anybody else?
Bos terrace.
What is the common name for that?
It's cattle.
It's cattle. Cattle.
Yes.
What is that cattle? I think my friend is working on a cattle project. What is that? Say again. The scientific name.
Bos terrace or Bos indicus.
I'm just gonna freak him out tomorrow and say and mention that out of nowhere I'm just gonna hoy in that particular scientific name. Homo habilis. What is the Homo habilis common for? Homo habilis. I don't know. And there's also, in terms of plants, there's also Sclerochira berea, I think. Yeah, Sclerochira berea is for marula tree, I think. Yeah. Then the three domains of life. Organisms are currently divided into three domains named bacteria, archaea, and eukarya. The prokaryotes include the domains bacteria and archaea. Remember, I told you at the beginning that the belly of this model is the differences between eukaryote and prokaryotes. So here they're saying there are three domains of life which are divided into three domains named bacteria, archaea, and eukarya. And they said prokaryotes include domains such as bacteria and archaea. So domain eukarya include all eukaryotic organisms. And eukarya also include protists and three kingdoms. What are those kingdoms? Plants, which produce their own food by photosynthesis, fungi, which absorb nutrients, and animals, which ingest food. So we are from which domain? Which domain are we from? Do we fall under?
Eukarya.
Eukarya, thank you. And
We fall under animals.
Yes, and the most numerous and diverse eukaryotes are protists. These are mostly single cell. So this is important because you know why? Because it will come as a multiple choice and say the most numerous and diverse eukaryotes are, they give 5 options. So you need to know it's protist. And you will. They are mostly single-cell organisms. They are classified into several groups. Some protists are less closely related to other protists than they are to plants, animals, and fungi. Or they could say this group of organisms are less closely related to other protists, that they are most closely related to other than they are to plants, animals, and fungi. They give various options. So you need to know that they're referring to protists. And this is just a description of the domain bacteria, archaea, and the domain eukarya is the one that includes animalia, protist, fungi, and plantae in that form or shape. The unity in the diversity of life, a striking unit underlines the diversity of life. For example, the DNA is universal genetic language common to all organisms. Unity is evident in many features of cell structure. The history of life as documented by fossils and other evidence is the saga of changing billions years. And this is just a cilia of paramecium and the cross section of a cilia. This you can view also using a microscope and in that order. You don't need to worry about this and that. Then we go to Charles Darwin and the theory of natural selection. We know Charles Darwin, right? Charles Darwin published on the origin of species by means of natural selection in 1859. Darwin made two main points: that species show evidence of descent with modification from what? From common ancestor. He mentioned that there are a group of species. We as group of species, if we track down, you will show or you are from a common ancestor, and then you branch. And the other observation that he make, or the other main 2 points, is that natural selection is the mechanism behind the descent with modification. Darwin theory explained the duality of unity and diversity. This is just a cover of the publication of the book. And also this is the example which showed the red hawk, and also a European robin and a penguin. And that, I'm going to pass on that. It's going to make sense why we're showing this later on. The Lapangas tortoise. So this is what Darwin observed. He observed that individuals in a population vary in their traits, many which seems to be inheritable. More offsprings are produced than they survive. Competition is inevitable. Species generally suit their environment. So there are more offsprings which are produced than they do survive. And Darwin reasoned, this is the reason, individuals that are best suited to their environment are more likely to survive and to produce. And also over time, more individuals in a population will have the advantageous traits. Evolution occurs as the unequal reproductive success of individual. The natural environment selects the propagation of beneficial traits. Darwin also called this process natural selection. So from here, from what he observed, this is science. This is materials and method. You observe. So he observed. So when he was observing, this is where the explanation of natural selection starts. When you're taking your notes, he observed the characteristics in a population of those traits, that they are inheritable, and those inheritable traits are produced, they passed on with the offsprings which are produced. And he also observed that competition is inevitable. there's always a competition. Species are generally suited to the environment, and the reason for that is that individuals that are best suited for the environment, they are the one who will survive and be able to produce. And that over time, more individuals in a population will have advantageous traits. Evolution occurs as the unequal reproductive success of individuals. The natural selection selects the propagation of that natural selection. And this is a perfect example with the description here. You see here the population with varied in inherited traits. If you can see here, what do you observe and see here before we continue? So don't worry about the name, just these are individuals. These are individuals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I think it's 12 or 13. These are all individuals. But what are you observing?
There's a change in color. Some are white, black, and gray.
Some are lighter, some are darker.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's go on. Then elimination of individual with certain traits. So the ones which has a lighter traits are being eliminated by a predator. You can see this little fella here. This, let's call him Satan, is coming here to eat. When he comes to eat, it does not mean that he's not gonna eat the black one, but the ones which are more visible are the lighter one. So he go and take them. You see? From here, the lighter one were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think 6. So you see here, he's eating the lighter ones up until only the 2 are left, which are lighter ones. If you can see, reproduction of survivors. So the survivors, the black ones, are the ones which are gonna mate. They're gonna mate and they're gonna be able to reproduce, and their offspring will be passed on to the next generation. And increased frequency of traits that enhance survival, which means this population will, in future, in the next 50 years, you will find that it is dominated by individuals which are darker compared to the one which are lighter, because the individuals which has darker traits have been increased in frequency of their trait that enhance their survival. So natural selection results in the adaptation of organisms to circumstances of the way of life and the environment. For example, the bat wings are an example of adaptation to flight and all that. This little bat here, it's a fruit bat. Beautiful, isn't it? No? Yes? Okay. Then the tree of life. The shared anatomy of mammalian limbs reflects inheritance of the limb structure from a common ancestor. Fossils provide additional evidence of anatomical unity descent with modification. Darwin proposed natural selection could cause an ancestral species to give rise to 2 or more descendant species. For example, the finch species of the Galapagos Island are descended from common ancestor. Evolutionary relationships are often illustrated with tree-like diagram that show ancestor and their descendant. And this will be their ancestral finch, the branch where they branch, the common ancestor of finches in general. So you can see here. But the main point here is that they descended from one common ancestor in that regard. Okay, the concept in studying nature science: make observation, inform, and test hypothesis. We talked about I asked you about what is a science there at the beginning. The word science is derived from Latin, means to know. Inquiry is the search of information, explanation of natural phenomena. Scientists use process of inquiry that include making observation, forming logical hypotheses, and testing them. So biologists exploration and making observation. So biologists describe natural structures and process. This approach is based on observation and analyzing of data. They recorded the observation, which is called data, and qualitative data often take the form and recorded description. Then the quantitative data are expression as numerical measurement and organized into tables and graph. Let's go back here. The said scientists use process of inquiry that includes making observation and forming logical hypothesis. What is a hypothesis?
A hypothesis is a testable statement.
It is a proposed solution to a problem that can be both tested to be wrong or right.
Perfect. Anybody else? They are both correct, by the way. I just want to see how you describe hypothesis. So you are correct. And we will also go through all of this because there's also a actually, where are we? Okay, let's continue with this observation and all that. We have dealt with this, and let me stop here. I just wanna see if I can. All right, let's do this. I will stop here for your notes for today. The quiz. So some of the things here we haven't dealt with, we haven't talked about this, but I just want us to just have a gist of what is it. So what is a, describe the following terms. What is parasitism?
Isn't it when in a habitat or in a community when one species dominates over another species to the point where they are almost extinct in that particular area?
You are right. You are right, but you have okay, yeah, you have given more. Maybe I put the question in a wrong terminology. I should have said define. You have described here. And mutualism? Just simplify it. Let's see.
Mutualism is interaction between organism where both organism benefit.
Yes, and commensalism.
Here one organism benefits, the other one is not affected.
So parasitism is both of these are symbiotic relationship. Parasitism and parasitism, mutualism, and commensalism, all of them are symbiotic relationships. So for parasitism, it's a symbiotic relationship in which the parasite benefits at the expense of the host. And mutualism, symbiotic relationship in which both participants, their benefits. Or in this relationship, everybody works there. Everybody has a car. Everybody has their own apartment. Or it's either we are in Sandton, or we are in Midrand, or we are in Sandton, or we are in Morningside, or all that. So everybody has their own things. It's both they are benefiting. Then commensalism, it's a symbiotic relationship in which the symbiotic benefits, but the host is neither. There's another one which is benefiting there, and there's another one which is rich. He doesn't care. He's just like, okay, can I borrow your what? Okay, it's fine. He's too rich to notice. Or yes, this one, it's a parasite. so that's the difference in the commensalism, mutualism, and parasitism. Then the other ones describe the following: predation and herbivory.
It is an interaction where one organism captures and feeds on another organism.
And the herbivory. So predation is the interaction which the predator eats the other animal. So some explanation they will say the predator eats or prey on another animal, or another animal is preyed by the predator. Preyed is just to mean that you victimize. So the reason why I'm putting this description, I want you to have a proper understanding that whenever a tricky question or multiple choice question appears, you'll be able to have an idea or this is what. And I'm putting description of terminologies which can stand on their own or which can be described on their own. What is herbivore?
When an animal feeds on plants, feeding on plants.
Perfect. Interaction in which a herbivore eats plants in that regard. All right, this is the last one, then we are done for tonight. I know this is too much. You guys may you might as well say we were not prepared. Come on, what are you doing this? The differences between prokaryotes and eukaryotes.
So you say, can I go?
Yes.
Eukaryotes are organisms that have nucleus and other cell organelles within the cell membrane or cell wall, while prokaryotes are organisms that don't have the nucleus and other cell organelles that are within the cytoplasm.
Cool. You perfect. And I just put this. Yeah, eukaryotes. Prokaryotes do not. Eukaryotes have a nucleus. Those ones do not. Simple things. Eukaryotes have membrane organelle, while prokaryotes do not have. Eukaryotes cells are on average 10 times in size, but you can just say eukaryotes have a bigger size, and the size of a prokaryote is small in size. The eukaryotes is much more complex and more extensive than the DNA in prokaryotes. Eukaryotes, they undergo mitosis, while prokaryotes, they reproduce by binary fission. And cell type, eukaryote is multicellular and prokaryotes are unicellular. All right, I think we're going to end here for today.